Okay, so this evening we're going to hear from the composers José del Avellano. I can't pronounce that. You can introduce yourself later.
Could you please introduce your name?
Yeah.
I can do, yeah. It's José del Avellanal Carreño.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Elliot Diff, I can do that. I hope. After they have presented, their work and have introduced themselves, we will open up the forum for questions and encourage you to make use of the chat function or raise the hand button in the bottom toolbar to make this experience as interactive as possible. Please ensure that you have your mic turned off during the performance of people's compositions to avoid any disturbance. So, who are we going to start with? Elliot, did you want to? Yeah.
Do you want to randomize that or? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start then.
Okay.
Well, I'm not very good at introducing myself, so I'll be very quick. My name is Elliot. I'm French, based in Brussels, Belgium. We met during a kind of workshop in Lithuania for percussion. And what can I say about me? I don't know, honestly. Just ask me question when we're done, and I will answer gladly. But I don't know how to do that, honestly. Do you want me to introduce the piece also, or do we do it like one at a time?
Yeah, I think it would be nice to hear a little bit about just the general idea of the piece, and then you can take a bit more in depth later on.
Okay, so I wrote that piece a few years ago for a friend of mine who is a cello player based in London, and he wanted to play that for his master degree. So he wanted a piece that was, he needed a contemporary electronic piece, and he wanted it to be not too hard, because he had a lot of work with the concerto and all the other stuff, but not too easy because it had to be like kind of challenging for a master. When he asked me to do that, I just finished a book by Jérôme Ferrari, a French writer, on Heisenberg, and how Heisenberg announced his principle, which states that the more precisely the position of some particle is determined, the less precisely its momentum can be known, and vice versa. So basically it means that if you try to, in quantum physics, if you try to locate a particle, you don't know its speed, and if you try to measure its speed, its location can't be known precisely. So I was very interested by this because you can easily translate that in musical terms. Speed, of course, the speed is very understandable in a musical way, and the space to me is like the position of elements throughout the form, basically. So the space of the time. So I tried to have this statement in mind when I was composing, and we exchanged a bit about the patterns and what it could play, how we could. That there are some tricky harmonics in the piece, and so we exchanged a bit about that, and then it was pretty quick, pretty fast as a process, which is unusual for me. Usually I'm very late and very slow to write, but this one was pretty fast. And yeah, what else can I say? The score that you will see is not super accurate in the electronic viewpoint, because when we when we started to rehearse in London, we realized that it was maybe too ambitious in 2 days, because we only had 2 days to do all live, everything live, because I had to recording live, then resample the sound, trigger the sound, and modify the sound in the same time. And we needed super precise cue for to cut the samples. So it was a bit complicated to do. So we did an easier version first, which is the version that you will see on the score. And then we recorded a studio version of the piece, which is basically just him playing solo, and me then editing the stuff apart later. So you have much more elements in the studio version than on the live version. And unfortunately, I've lost the file, so I can't edit the score anymore. That was before I use like 3 external discs now, because I'm completely paranoid since I've lost a lot of files. If you don't use 3 external discs, I strongly encourage you to do so. It has saved my life at least 2 times. So yeah, best decision of my life, I guess. And yes, I don't know what else I can say about the piece. It's pretty self-explanatory, and if you have questions, I gladly answer them as well. So yeah, if you want to start by question, I don't know how you do that usually. If you want to listen to it, if you want to listen to it with the score, without the score, just let me know.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll listen to it first and then have questions. So we're going to share the score in the chat. That's okay.
Ronnie, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to ask a little bit more about the Heisenberg thing. Can you just say that once more? It was about the position of the particle and the its momentum.
So
can you just explain about how that translates into the music? You mentioned you've got the phrase in the back of your mind. I was just wondering.
So the statement is, the more precisely the position of some particle is determined, the less precisely its momentum can be known, and vice versa. Which means that when you measure either,
I mean, so how that works in your in your piece. Yeah, okay, I know the principle.
Okay. So how that works in my piece, basically the more you advance in time, the more you have samples. So there is a densification of the samples, the resample cello. It's only the only sound that you will hear are produced by the cello initially. I made the choice of only when I treat the sound, I only slow it down or reverse it. That's an aesthetic choice, because I always find the
processing, maybe?
Yeah, processing the sound in a faster way can be sometimes, silly.
Okay.
It can sound like a joke, or so I didn't want that in that piece, which is why I assumed to only slow down the samples or reverse them occasionally. And yeah, basically you will hear always the same kind of motif. The motif is very simple. You will see it. It's fast slow notes and long high notes, and it can be reversed. It's like a morphology. So basically you can have also fast high notes and long low notes, and you can like basically switch all the parameters of that kind of, let's call that a theme, even if it's not actually a theme. And so yeah, it's the same element is presented throughout all the piece, but at different speeds and different aspect of the musical element. And
sorry, I was just going to say, as you said, as the more the piece advances in time, does that mean just sort of later on in the piece, or do you mean the speed of the activity? What was it you said? You said the more it advances in time, the more denser the activity is, or something like that.
Yeah, actually,
By advancing in time, do you mean just later on in the piece?
The more you, the longer you stay listening to the piece, the more confused it gets. What is playing what? Is it the electronic playing, or if it's the cello playing?
So really working with the uncertainty.
Yeah,
right.
I mean for probably that for advanced composers, or even not advanced, but you can make the difference pretty easily. But for any listeners, I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell.
I was just interested where you actually, how you work the idea of uncertainty in your piece. It is between the electronics and the real the performer. Is that right?
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
So the uncertainties, the uncertainty principle, isn't it? So that you don't know something about the.
Yeah,
exactly. You never know. There's always something you don't know. So the uncertainty idea is between the electronics and the cello itself. Then.
Yeah, of course. Yes, that's also something I could mention. That's interesting. I'm really interested in the relationship between electronic music and acoustic music, so mixed music basically. And I've tried several ways to that, like what you could call real time, deferred time. All those let's call that labels. I've tried different approaches, and I haven't yet found one that is actually 100% satisfying. But I think that resampling is interesting if you want to work on that uncertainty. I think it's probably the most efficient tool if you want to create a kind of blur between what is electronic and what is not electronic, or what is acoustic and what is not acoustic, according to your point of view. But yeah, basically that's one of my many trials on mixed music, which is often interesting in the process and sometimes the result too. But I leave that to you. But is often very difficult to not necessarily play, but to have the whole thing working together. The techniques, the amplification. Having no Larsens, having no feedback, having a good broadcasting, not broadcasting, but having a good mix, speakers, a good balance, and a good you have to get good speakers, because as long as you use electronics, speakers became your instrument basically. So if you don't have good speakers, you can also play on a shitty cello or a crappy piano, it will be the same. So yeah, that's a very interesting thing, and if you are interested in that, we can exchange about that later. It's it's a fantastic, very interesting topic. I think.
Yeah, definitely. I like all that stuff. Wonderful, thank you.
So I sent you the score in the chat window. I don't know if you have downloaded it. If you have some question before we start, just ask them, and if you don't, we can launch the thing.
Thank you, Elliot. That was so interesting. Introduction. Shall we listen to the piece now, and then we are going for the questions?
What a wonderful piece. Thank you so much, Elliot. Yeah, please tell us
Thank you for
more
your
about
time.
it. Absolutely incredible.
Okay, so if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask or to discuss or to point out whatever you want to say about that. I'm very sorry for the notation. It's clear that it's been written a few years ago for me, because there are some things that I wouldn't do the same. But yeah, it's still pretty clear though. So yeah, I hope you didn't mind that.
So anyone? Govert? I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yes, thank you, Govert. Just out of curiosity, so if I understood correctly, you, Elliot, did the electronics, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically it's only editing samples, but yeah.
Yeah, but also on stage you did the timing of it, or?
Yeah, but not that version. As I mentioned, when we did it on stage, it was like we had only 2 days, so it was the simplified version, the one that you have seen on the score. So much less samples.
Okay, now I get what the simplification was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then but in the ultimate version you did it on stage, but then the question is, what was that difficult to do? Is it something you do regularly, or?
What was difficult to do? The difficulty was having the cue very accurate. So editing in real time is pretty difficult, as you might know. You know, even if you have like a screen with the samples, if you need to hear to listen to what you are editing and cutting in the same time that you have to follow the score and resampling other stuff. And you only have 2 ends, so if you have to edit both the beginning and the end in the same time and trigger something else in the same time, I mean, it's completely out of control very quickly, especially if you have to trigger samples while recording only the cello. Also, we had some feedback issues. In the live version, we had some of the samples that were in the recordings of the next sample, so it's kind of accumulating and being noisier and noisier, which isn't not interesting actually, but it's not what I wanted in the first place. So we ended up cheating on some of the cues, especially on the harmonics that it couldn't get out every time perfectly. So we pre-recorded some of the moves for the final version, for the live version. Sorry, and if I had to do that on stage now, I think I would pre-record everything and just do the manipulation of the tempo, reverse, and stuff like this. Just trigger and play the music actually, because I think having the real-time sample is only a composer fantasy, you know. The audience doesn't care if I sample live or not. The audience cares if the sound is good or not. So yeah, if I had to do that again, I would do it completely differently on stage.
Yeah, I see.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks. Nice piece.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Ronnie has a question. I don't know if you guys do the kind of mediation or if I should take the question directly, but yeah, I see that you have a question. So
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. I was waiting for you to approve, so. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was looking through it and I didn't see it straight away. Go on, Ronnie.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations, fantastic. Yeah,
Thanks.
I loved it. Yeah, I just had a couple of questions. Hope you don't mind. One is the first that I was just wondering how. Well, for me, it came across as a very expressive piece with lots of yeah, lots of force, energy, and generally very expressive. And the sort of the idea that you seem to have taken, that you said you based the piece on, was idea of physics, and which isn't I mean, physics isn't something I imagine to be expressive. So obviously the idea came out of that in the structure and stuff. I'm wondering how how these sort of two things get reconciled within your idea. Does that make sense?
Tricky question. Yeah, I guess you will stop me if I'm answering wrong on this, but so I don't know if it's expressive, but energetic is something I had in mind because I'm like I came to music with like punk, hard rock, and stuff like this. So this is something I try to re-inject sometimes in my music.
I mean, punk and hard rock's very expressive.
Yeah, but I mean, especially on the energetical viewpoint, you know, I when I'm writing for cello, I still have like Rage Against the Machine riffs in my mind. So even though I'm not trying to replicate or yeah, I mean, it's completely different. It's not the same audience. It's not the same context. But I don't try to get rid of that when I write. So maybe that's why it's expressive. But to me, it's very clear that physics, and especially quantum physics or cosmology or all those kind of things are very expressive. I mean, I don't know anything about, not anything, but I don't know. I don't really know about physics. I'm not a physician. I just read some articles of, I don't know if the word exists in English, vulgarization. I don't know if that's a word. You like scientists that make it simpler for you to understand.
Maybe, I don't know, popular science, I think we use more to describe that kind of field of literature, as opposed to scientific literature in scientific journals.
I don't feel like scientific articles on quantum physics. I don't have the physics level to understand it. So yeah, and I think that it's very, not necessarily poetic, but it's very intriguing and evocating. You know, it speaks about stuff you don't see, stuff you don't. Some concepts are completely. What is the English word for that? Counterintuitive. Is that a word? Counterintuitive, and so the fact that it makes you think in a completely different way can bring to me creativity and can bring ideas. So I don't think that science, like art science and creativity and expression, are necessarily opposed. And also one more thing, of course the piece is not trying to express the Heisenberg principle, because Heisenberg's equations and formulas do it much better and much more elegantly, I would say. So the idea is not to translate a physics idea, but to have that in my mind when I compose. It's like a starting point to the project, and then of course most of the decisions are taken accordingly to what I want to hear, and not to refer to my my primary principle, in that case Heisenberg's principle. But yeah, it's more like do you have I need to search for that word. I don't know it in English.
In French, what is it?
Pretext.
Pretext.
Excuse, an excuse, like okay. It's a reason. I don't know, alibi. No, not alibi, but yeah, reason for writing much more than an actual basis for a formula, a form, or a process. So yeah, to me it's but it's very personal. But science is really really opening worlds, and especially cosmology. I mean, when you think about like galaxies going super fast and the universe expanding, I mean, it's completely crazy. It's like it's not as far as you could think, as for example, just looking at the sky when you have the stars. You know, it's just you don't actually understand what is going on. You know, you just have you have some crazy numbers and crazy facts, but you don't actually, you can't represent that in your head. So
I mean, what Heisenberg's principle actually means is pretty mind blowing at
yeah,
fundamental
I mean,
level. So it's fantastic.
yeah, it's so counterintuitive. I mean, you can't think about that if you're just like a regular non-scientist person. So I think yeah, it's opening worlds for creativity. Science is really a good source, to me at least.
Yeah. Do I have time for one technical question, or do we need to move on at all?
Yeah, we have 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just really interested in what you said about writing for the cellist, that you mentioned it can't be too hard and it can't be too difficult. So that sounds to be like something very difficult to compose exactly a particular. So it can't be too difficult. It shouldn't be too easy. And so I was wondering how you approached that at all, and if you, how much you knew of the cello already, and how you worked together with the cellist to get the sort of the difficulty level of the piece right.
I knew the cello already. I already had written for cello, and it was not so difficult because it's a good friend. So it took some time to just read a few drafts, and he gave me some feedback. He also gave me some advices on fingerings and stuff, for especially for the page 2, yeah, from bar 50 to bar 55, 56. You have some things that are not especially difficult, but to make it really natural, you have to have a cello in your bedroom or to have a cellist in your phone, of course. So yeah, that's basically what he helped me for. The cadenza, the last page, is of course due to the I want something difficult and something that is kind of, yeah, a show off for the end. So that's not necessarily something I would have done by myself, but it was interesting to have these kind of constraints to, yeah, to make a final, not necessarily a huge final, but something that was more demanding and more, yeah, more like a show off. So yeah, I think it was not the hardest part. As I said, it's actually one of the rare pieces that I wrote in a short time. So it's very unusual in my composition process.
Did you find yourself tending more towards the difficult, it being too difficult or too easy?
I'm usually more on the easy side of of writing. So yeah, no, it was yeah, it was interesting, but I mean, it's to me, it's pretty easy to write. I have no what would you call that? I completely like simple things. I'm not a minimalist myself, but I mean, I have no problem with writing something that is really simple if that's what I want to hear. So I'm more simple. If I have to choose a side, it's the simple side. But once again, it's very personal, and I think it's yeah, it's also due to what you listen to, what you like to hear, and what you like to play. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great. You're welcome. Thank you for the questions.
Again.
Thanks again.
Thank you. It was lovely. So are we ready to move on to Jose?
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Elliot. I just want to mention if you can put the link of the piece in the chat, that would be really nice, because I realize some people come after you.
Okay,
Yeah,
no
thank
issues.
you so
I will
much.
do that right now.
Congratulations, by the way, it was fantastic. I really love that. Great. Shall we go for the Jose presentation?
Hi, hope my sound is okay right now. First of all, congratulations, Elliot, on a really, really cool piece. And yeah, thank you, Elior Atafe, for organizing. Thank you all for being here. It's nice to see some familiar faces. Some of the Mixture gang is here. It really means a lot. Thank you. And well, my name is Jose. I have a very long surname, and I'm a composer from Spain. I studied from 2017 to 2021 in Manchester in the UK. That's when me and Eliora met. And since past September, I'm based in Switzerland, where I study at the Hochschule der Künste Bern. I should add a little disclaimer that I'm having lots of issues with my laptop. It's a pretty useless machine at the moment, so I'm joining through my phone. Atafe and Elior are helping me with all the tech side, so yeah, thank you so much for that. I prepared a little introduction of myself. I try not to be too long, but I guess if I have to talk about my music, I should draw a little divide between how I think of music and my work conceptually, which I guess we could say has been pretty stable for the past couple years in essence. And then I guess aesthetically, we could say that I'm currently going through a bit of a phase of evolution, or perhaps even the better word would be a phase of expansion. Conceptually, I think a lot about musical narrative. I have a great affinity for cinema and a great influence from surrealism in how I approach this concept. And one of the main core ideas that I've been obsessing with is the idea of human applied to music, as well as its counterpart and all the non-human, for lack of a better term. It's I can place it exactly when this idea came to me for the first time, but if I have to guess, I think it comes from chess. If any of you happen to also not have much social life and follow chess, you'll know that by the current stage of affairs, chess engines are insanely powerful in the sense that they're a lot better and more accurate than any human player there is. And chess commentators, when going through analyzing moves at this moment, have come with this terminology, which is machine or human moves, to explain moves that defy logic in such a way and defy intuition in such a way that only a machine could come up with them. It's a very subjective term, and I guess the way I use it is also incredibly subjective. But I'm very attracted to these concepts and how we can establish this strange duality between the human. First of all, decide what is it that we feel or understand as human, and what is the non-human, which could be the illogical, the mechanical, the artificial, and then establish a dialogue, a clash, a series of evolving relationships that might take us somewhere interesting. My approach in this term is not anything scientific, because I'm not really looking for answers out of any of this. It's more simply a provocation, in the sense that I find that confronting this idea time and time again and trying to find different angles for it allows me to find what I think are quite exciting opening stages of the creative process that then I'm just having a lot of fun following to see where they might take me. And I also enjoy the idea of taking a concept and trying to explore it in a rather exhaustive way from different angles and positions, to see just new possibilities that go past what might occur to me first. Aesthetically, well, that's conceptually. And then if we talk aesthetically, we could say there are some constants in how I work, and there's a great interest in instrumental exploration, as well as a focus on gesture and timbre. But from my musical upbringing in the UK and from my work experience, sad to hear, Ronnie. I can send you the piece because it's not yet available online, but I can send it to you. And well, I was mentioning that when I was during my time in the UK, I left education and with a rather traditional view of music. In a way, all my output consisted of both acoustic and electroacoustic, electronic music, but sadly, nothing moved from the realm of what constitutes contemporary classical concert music. And since moving to Switzerland, I encountered a very different environment supported by a very different infrastructure that allows people to, at least in my university right now, think a lot about other elements and how they incorporate this to composition, elements such as multimedia composition, teatro musical, elements of installation. And I'm currently going through a process of critical examinations of all of these elements, which of these excite me, which of this can add to my music, and which of this can help me take these ideas and concepts that I really like and try to find new ways of approaching them. And before getting to talk about the piece, there's a quote by a Spanish philosopher, Jose Ortega said, which says, "I am I and my circumstance." So in a way, I guess, in order to give a more accurate little portrait of myself as an artist, it would be important to also mention some of the influences that I guess have made me who I am at this very moment in time. I had to do this for an application that asked specifically for inspirations and influences. So I have a list of bullet points to read to you. Amongst these little influences, we can find the surrealist cinema of David Lynch, the social consciousness and vulnerability found in contemporary hip hop and R&B, the damaged aesthetic of lo-fi production and broken technologies, the poetical imagery of Federico Garcia Lorca, Henri Dutilleux's development of musical narrative through the concept of unconscious memory, the exploration of acoustic instrumental possibilities of Pierluigi Billone and Salvatore Sciarrino, the use of electronics of Kai Jasariaho, Jonathan Harvey, and Sam Salem, the precise expressivity found in composers such as James Dillon, Chris Dench, and Thomas Ades, Rebecca Saunders' viscerality and understanding of the orchestra, Fausto Romitelli's creation of fragile threads of order within chaos, Clara Iannotta and Mark Barden's exploration of acoustic noise, Weston Olensky's raw approach to sound, and the inventiveness and playfulness of Georgi Ligeti, Simon Sten Andersen, and Francesco Filidei. So that's that. And well, I can't really see the chat from my phone, so please feel free to stop me at any point if you want to ask anything. Very happy to stop. But the piece that I would like to show today is called Trommel, with a little interrogation sign at the start that, well, some of you might recognize the reference when you see it. And it's a piece for percussionist with snare drum that was written for Philip Lamprecht of Meitar Ensemble for the Master Course for Composers of end of 2021 and start of 2022. The festival has experienced limitations and issues due to COVID, and this piece is yet to be officially released in an online concert because of Corona postponements. So it is with their permission that I can share this piece. And I guess I don't want to say that much of it before watching and listening to it. I guess the only main ideas that I would like to mention is that are important for this piece is, first of all, the idea of a ritual was something I had in my mind when developing this piece. There is, as mentioned earlier, a strong focus on gesture and instrumental exploration. And perhaps the most important one is that I come to this piece from the examination of traditional instrumented performance as an imbalanced relationship between the active human agent, which is a performer, and a passive artificial medium, which is the instrument. And throughout this piece, I try to first establish this relationship and then try to turn it around, balance it, and see if I can maybe change the terms of this relationship as the piece develops. And I think that's all from me. I think
Thank you.
now we could
Perfect.
have the score on the chat.
Yeah, sure.